I want to play a quick little game. I want you to find the person that is hiding somewhere inside the house. We're going to go slowly room by room, and I want you to pay close attention to where that person may be hiding. Look for clues, look for movement, look for anything that might give them away. Let's take a few moments and check it out. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining Army this morning. Anointed, reigning, mighty, and young. So, how'd you do? Were you able to find some of the clues? Were you able to figure out where he may be? Well, if you were struggling at all, don't worry. We're going to come back to it a little bit later on in the video, and we'll figure out together where he's at and see if your guess was correct. Today, we're going to talk about how God is always with us and how he is always there. He's always there in the good times. He's always there in the bad times. Growing up, I played a game. It was called I Spy. It was actually a book. Look at there. In the game, what you were supposed to do is it would give you a clue to try and find an object somewhere on the page, and you were supposed to try and find it. The page was just full of all kinds of random objects. Sometimes the clues would be really easy. Find the duck. Got it. Sometimes the clues would be really hard. Find the abacus face. What the heck is an abacus face? Now, if all the stuff on the page would just go away, then it would make finding all the clues really easy. But that's not how real life works. Real life is full of stuff. Sometimes it's good stuff. Sometimes it's bad stuff. Sometimes it's really small stuff. Sometimes it's really big stuff. And sometimes it's pandemic stuff. Now, with all this stuff that is going on in our lives, sometimes it can make it really hard to see where God is and what God's doing in our lives. Let's look at Luke chapter 8, verses 42 through 48. Here we meet Jesus as he's on his way to somebody's house. While he's going that way, he is surrounded by crowds of people who are just ecstatic and excited to see him. They've been hearing so many wonderful things, and they wanted to see it for themselves. They wanted to hear this wonderful message that Jesus was trying to give to them. The problem was in the process, there were so many people that were gathered around Jesus and his disciples that the Bible says that he was about to be crushed. There was so much chaos, there was so much madness that was going on, there was just a lot of stuff happening around them. Jesus and his disciples were focused on trying to get out of there so they wouldn't get trampled to death. Next, it starts to speak about a woman who has been sick for 12 years. She's been having a disorder of bleeding for that time span. Think about 12 years. That's longer than a lot of you have been alive. She had been dealing with this for so long. She had gone to all the doctors she knew to go to. She had tried all the medicines that she knew to try. And she had just been dealing with stuff for so long. And she was getting tired. She didn't have any more hope. Jesus was her last hope. she heard Jesus was coming into town. So what did she decide to do? She decided to take all those disappointments that she's had in her previous times of going to doctors and trying different medicines, and she decided to put that stuff aside, and she laid her focus on Jesus. So she made her way towards the crowd, and she saw how many people were surrounding him. But she made her way through it. She's pulling and pushing and climbing and crawling her way to get to the center of all of this chaos and all of this stuff that is around her, because she can see Jesus. And she finally gets up close to him, and she reaches out her hand. And just as she reaches out her hand, she's able to just graze his shirt, where it just softly touches her fingertips. And instantly, the Bible says, she was healed of everything. Despite all the stuff that was going on in her life, she received God, and she was able to get an instant miracle. Now here's the interesting part of what happens next. Right after she reaches her hands out and is able to just graze his shirt, Jesus instantly stops in the middle of the crowd, in the middle of the chaos of everything that is going on around him. And he says, "Who touched me? Who touched me?" The disciples and Peter looked at him. They started talking amongst themselves. And they said, "Master, none of us touched you. We're surrounded by the crowds. Maybe one of them touched you. Maybe they bumped into you and rubbed you." The disciples and Peter were so concerned about everything that was happening around them that they completely missed the miracle that took place right in front of them. They were standing right beside the person who had just been miraculously healed, and they missed it because their eyes weren't focused on the right thing. They were in the midst of chaos, and miracles were happening right beside them. After that, Peter said, "Master, maybe it was those bumping into us. They were the ones that touched you." Jesus replied, "Peter, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're trying to tell me, that there are so many people going on, and that's what your eyes see. But what you don't understand is that someone touched me, and I felt power leave me. And I saw and felt a miracle just happen. I'm not concerned about what all is going on around me. I'm concerned about the healing that just took place. Now, who touched me?" At this point, the woman, realizing that she wouldn't be able to just step aside, because now the disciples and the crowd, their eyes were now focused on what was going on. And now they were aware that a miracle had just happened, because their eyes were now on Jesus as opposed to what the chaos was going on around them. Finally, the woman stepped up and declared that it was she who had touched him. And she then explained to Jesus and the crowd that she had been suffering for 12 years of this disorder, and that she had tried everything to get it fixed, and that it was her touching Jesus, because her focus was on Jesus and not all the stuff that was going on around her, that was when she was able to be healed. Jesus then looked at her and said, "Daughter, your faith is what has healed you today." This story teaches us that we all may be dealing with stuff in our own lives, in our own way. But Jesus is paying attention, and he's ready for you. This leads us into our Bible verse for the week. Deuteronomy 31:6 says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not fear or be in dread of them, for it is the Lord your God who goes with you. He will not leave you or forsake you." Just remember, we all may be dealing with the worst things going on around us, or all this distracting things that are going around us. But God is always there with us, and he's always there doing miracles. And if we pay attention to Jesus, we will see all the wonderful things he's doing. It will pop up right in front of your face. Lastly, I would say, if you don't see the miracles that are happening around you, maybe God's asking you to do the miracle. Lastly, I want to thank you for joining us, and I wanted to send out a challenge for everybody for this coming up week. What I want you to do is I want you to create your own I Spy game. I want you to set up a room, a scene, and I want you to either shoot a short video or take a quick picture and post on the page and telling everyone what you want us to find so we can all have a chance to try and find what you're trying to hide. Okay? Oh, and that reminds me, we need to go back to our video at the very beginning. So let's take another look and look really close this time and see if you can't find where the person is hiding. Let's check it out again. Love you guys. See you next week.